we're going to be looking at collecting daylilies. These are very easy to find. They grow along the hedgerows, they grow in gardens. This is the flower, and when the flower dies back, they're ready to be cut. You can cut them any time from now on. They will die back, and sometimes people just cut them when they've completely died back. If you cut them now, they will be better because they're stronger and they're greener. I usually use a pair of these to cut them with because it's quicker, but you can use whatever you like. I just snip away as low as possible. It's nice to have them as long as possible. Just gather them up like this. It's very easy. There they are. And I try and collect them more or less with the ends together so that they're in a bunch like this. Oh, we don't need the old flower head. There we are. Now they're nice and long, as you can see, and when they dry they'll turn brown. I made a piece of cordage. These are really used for making cordage, which we will be showing people in the museum how to make. This is a piece of cordage made with the dry lilies, and it's sort of fun. I just made this. So I'll wrap them up in their own cordage and they'll go in and they'll get dried. But the cordage is very strong and it's very useful for all sorts of things. So there we are, very simple. You can get them in your own garden if you want to. Just dry them up and then use them when they're nice and dry. Now we're going to talk about sweetgrass. And sweetgrass grows all over Ontario, particularly in this area. There's a lot of sweetgrass, but it's very difficult to find. Now I have it in my garden. This is the flower of sweetgrass, and it's very, very early. It's still at the beginning of May, and you can see it's beautifully up. And in the summer, when it goes to seed, it's brown. So you see brown seeds instead of these little white greeny ones. Now to pick it, and I'm not going to pick it now because it's not the right time, but you don't cut sweetgrass, you pull it. And you go down to the bottom of the sweetgrass and you pull it out, and very often at the bottom of the root it's white and perhaps a little bit of red or coloured at the bottom. You just pull it and you pull it and you pull it. You don't need scissors, and you gather as much as you want, and then you keep it in a long, a sort of plume. Now I know our indigenous people sometimes pull it through boiling water and they think that preserves it better, and I've done that. And so you just need a roasting pan on your stove with boiling water on it, and as you have your bunch of sweetgrass you just dip it through and just pull it through the boiling water, and it sort of curls up as it goes, and then shake it out and dry it. And then of course you keep it, and when you use it you damp it. But that's how you really collect sweetgrass. The other thing is that the leaf is slightly shiny. So if you're mystified, you want a shiny leaf with a little bit of a white root at the bottom. Now we're going to talk about winter rye or winter wheat, which is used for a great variety of things in basketry, mostly making bee skeps and coiling. Now to plant winter rye or winter wheat, you have to think about it in September, the year before you want it. This winter rye is planted, I think, in the second week in September, and you can tell in the fields it's always lovely and green in the winter time. It's the green crop in the fields. Now this is going to grow higher and higher and higher. It's also used quite often as a green manure, in which case you don't let it grow very far. You plough it in. But this will grow now, and probably by late July, August, it'll have lovely, lovely bits of corn on the top, or the seed heads will be on the top. And I'll come out with my snippers, and I will snip it off the bottom and collect it. Now, when you have it in sort of sheaves, you must be very careful because the mice like the wheat or the rye. So be prepared to have a mouse invasion. And then you just dry it and keep it until you want to use it. The important thing about this is to think about it the year before you want it, because you can't grow it in the spring. This has been here since last September. Now, when we start to use it, it will be looking like this, because it will have been in your shed, and you see it some friend has eaten off all the wheat or the rye that was on top. And this is how I keep it. And when you want to use it, just take it out. I usually give it a bit of a sprinkle. It doesn't need to be soaked, it just needs to be damp. And cover it up with a towel. And I just leave it overnight and use it the next day. There. And it's very simple. Don't leave it wet too long. If you don't want it and you don't use it all, let it dry out. But it doesn't like to be kept all wrapped up and wet if you don't want to use it. And that would be just ready for me to use today. This is usually how you start with working with straw. It's actually coiled in a little circle. We use a gauge, this is a little piece of pipe, just so to make sure that your straw is all the same width. And you wrap it with this, which is a flat reed. And it's quite quick to use and quite fun. Now, this technique was used to make my sun hive. Of course, it was a slightly fatter coil on the sun hive. And this is the top. And the bees are going to come into here. They're going to arrive, this is their front door. And they're going to come up in here. And you can see, if I take the lid off the top, you can see, whoops, that will be where they're going to make their house. And their combs will hang down from those wooden frames, and they'll hang right down to the length of the beehive. So that will be their little house. And they'll come in and out down here. And then if I want perhaps to put something on, make a little bit of honey for me, I can take that top knot off. There. And that will be, but the bees won't use that. That will be, well, I can put another little house on top if I think their house is full down here and they could make some honey for me. So this was quite fun, and you can see it was made in 2 parts. And it actually took quite a long time to do, but it was quite fun. It was designed by somebody in Germany because bees apparently like to live in this shape. They like to live up in the air, and they like this sort of a house rather than living in a square house, which is how we usually keep them.